So the latest episode of Fruits Basket just released and it was pretty good. Like the last couple of episodes, it was more a setup episode and it focused largely on Yuki's personal growth and expanding the scope of his world beyond his relationships with Toru and the rest of the Somas. However, a key difference between this episode and the past 2 or 3 was it leaned heavily on comedy and it shied away from the serious tone that we've had since the end of the beach arc. I liked this. Too much serious can be overwhelming, and since it's probably going to ramp up again before the end of the season, it's refreshing to have an episode that infuses a lot of comedy. I think it was pretty interesting that Yuki featured so heavily in such a comedic episode. Usually, I wouldn't associate him directly as being a particularly funny character. In fact, usually his episodes largely revolve around his own personal growth and they come across as far more serious. But that's why I feel like it works so well, because he's a more serious character. Him continually getting exasperated at the crazy antics and quirks of the different council members was really funny, and watching him slowly die inside was pretty hilarious. I think the best example of this is the scene where they're assigning personal colours to each of the council members. Yuki starts off completely unable to handle what they're doing and just stands there completely stunned. But as the scene progresses, he comes out of his shell, he trades some banter of his own, and he even starts writing a colour on the board. I think this is really representative of the growth that he's had over the past 2 seasons. I can't see Season 1, Episode 1 Yuki doing something like this and getting involved so much. Going forward, I think this cast of characters will be a key part of making Yuki's story feel unique. Instead of constantly relying on the main cast to bounce off and interact with to spur for his development, he can now interact with people that mostly revolve around him and are a bit more distant from other characters. It lets his story breathe and develop independently, and prevents him awkwardly third-wheeling with Kyo and Toru too much. Whilst the episode leaned heavily on comedy, at the same time it wasn't entirely devoid of seriousness. One of the final scenes of the episode featured a pretty intense confrontation between Yuki and Kakeru. This was a clash that was slowly bubbling away over the course of the episode. Earlier on, Yuki said that his behaviours reminded him of Ayame and Kyo, both of whom Yuki has a pretty volatile relationship with, so it was clear that something was going to happen eventually. Insults were thrown, shirts were grabbed, plans were ruined, and then it quickly devolves into an emotional bro bonding session where they both allude to the fact that they admire the other. For Yuki, this also proves emotional, as despite his growth, he still overanalyzes every little social situation. So for someone to say they admire and envy him, it was quite overwhelming, especially coming from a character that so resembles Kyo and Ayame, both of whom Yuki has admitted to deeply admiring in some way. I think it also plants the seeds for his relationship with these two to improve at some point, because if he can befriend Kakeru, who resembles them in personality and behaviour, he can bridge the gap at some point. Overall, the episode was good, and it really served to expand the world just like the last couple of episodes. It serves as a check-in point for Yuki's own journey, showing how far he's come and pointing toward the direction his story is going to go from here. At the same time though, I felt like some of the council scenes maybe lingered a little too long and began to overstay their welcome. I understand that they need to get across the different personalities of the council members in a short space of time, so it didn't bother me too much, but I think they could have shortened those scenes a tad. I've enjoyed the slower pace of the last couple of episodes, but I think I'm ready for the drama to start to ramp up again in the next few. I'm really looking forward to next week, and I hope the storytelling stays as strong as it has been for the season so far. But that's just my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think.